subscribestar.com/dursttheworst if you have a video request. I want all of you to go and subscribe to Laughing at Liberals, Michael Strickland. This guy is a huge, massive inspiration to the Durst the Worst channel and probably others all across YouTube. But he has the latest documentation of some RINOs here, at least a handful of them, in Oregon House District 23 seat. There Republicans vying for the vacant Oregon House District 23 seat are asked about compromising with the Democrats. Oh, fun. Let's compromise with people who support just like race riots for an entire summer or for an entire election term. Sorry. Let's see. Anyway, Anna Scharf, John Swanson, Mike Neerman, Mikey Garris, and Jim Bunn all take turns responding. Let's see what let's see how Republicans are going to fucking compromise with people who just ultimately want your country destroyed.
So we have a Democrat-governed, Democrat-controlled Senate and a Democrat-controlled House. There must be compromise for the minority party to accomplish anything. How do you find the balance between principle and compromise?
I'm thunderstruck right now.
Well, there's some things that you should never compromise. There's some certain principles that you should never compromise.
Based.
If it goes against my faith, my personal morals, it's into the conversation. So It doesn't mean, I think so many times people will say no and then not counteroffer with some different type of solution. It doesn't have to be the end of the conversation. It just means that on that specific issue, you can't compromise your own values or principles. So I think you have to be willing to think outside of the box and willing to have a broader conversation and show whoever it is you're in this conversation with that there are other ways.
Broader conversation.
There are ways that we can still work together. There are ways that both sides can be walk away and feel victorious, so to speak. But it doesn't mean that you're giving in on the values. There are certain values that if you're going to give in on, you have no business in that seat in the first place, and you're definitely not going to serve the community very well.
Okay, so values, compromising, both sides win. Okay, we're talking about a side, the left, Democrats, who they're decidedly anti the notion of values, the very idea of values, family values, American values, Christian values, just the very idea of moral values, law and order. They consider that to be a white patriarchal construct that needs to be dismantled. So so this guy, he's saying, oh, if it comes to my faith, you're gonna hear a lot of that on this panel, like some generic appeal to my faith. If that comes into question, we're not compromising, but they don't really... some like vague allusion to abortion or something like that they get into, but they don't mention. Well, I think we'll get into some of these people, like, but for the most part, it's just mealy mouth responses like that. It's like, whoa, compromise. Why?
Thank you. All right, Anna.
This woman.
So just like in business negotiations, when I worked at Hewlett-Packard and then went on to FMC and then went on to work for GK Machine. In negotiations in business, you have to know where your walk-away point is. Before you even walk in that room, you have to know what your walk-away point is.
Our walk-away point is, Maxine Waters telling people that they should go harass Republicans or people who voted for Trump, which they were already doing. Our walk-away point should have been a year straight of just straight George Floyd riots and arson. The walk-away point should have been the mayor of Minneapolis, like, just capitulating to and siding with the rioters. Same with the mayor of Seattle, Ted Wheeler. Our walkaway point has already occurred, Anna Scharf. I believe she actually got the seat, too. So that's cool. RINO's.
And in politics, that's your ethics, that's your core beliefs, that's the integrity that you won't lose, and that's your walkaway point. A lot of people think that compromise is loss. Compromise is not loss.
Yeah, it is.
Both parties often lose on both sides in compromise, and both parties often win in compromise. So my preference is that compromise is not lost, but education equals change. So the more you talk with
Compromise is not lost, but education equals change. So she sounds like a shit lib. Like, also this guy, conversations and education equals change. Hope and change. They sound like fucking... Okay, so maybe this is good for Democrats and Republicans, right? The parties, the establishments, like compromising on how best to screw the average American. Maybe it is good for both of their parties to compromise. If people who claim to be in favor of like old school American morality, if they compromise with people who outwardly want to destroy that physically and metaphorically, then we lose. There is no compromising with people who are like that, who just want to topple statues and monuments simply because they depict a white person. I mean, there's no compromising with people like that. People who think that if a Blake even thinks that you said the N-word, that they could just like off you on the spot. There's no compromising with people like this who set up autonomous zones. Like, no, you do lose.
The more you try to find common ground, the more you educate people about an issue, the chances that you'll reach a win-win compromise increase. However, like I said, before you go into any negotiations, whether it's business or on a bill, you need to know what your walk-away point is. And my core values are something that I would use as my walk-away point. So for example, I don't know if we're going to have a Second Amendment question, but I'll just throw it out there. I firmly believe in the Second Amendment. I believe in responsible gun ownership.
For Rittenhouse?
So those are things that would be my walk-away point. That's not to say that I think every criminal should have a gun. Criminals shouldn't be able to have guns. We have laws on the books for that. But there has to be a point where you uphold the law and the laws that we already have, and use your integrity and not compromise that.
So that was just a nothing burger. We're gonna get a lot of just like word salad and politician language.
So I think anybody who knows me knows that I fall farther on the principle side than the compromise side. But saying that, I have in every session that I served, I have always had more yes votes than I had no votes, and that's because you look for what's good and what's necessary, and you do what needs to be done on that. I think that it's some people talk about one party rule, that there's just one big omniparty that just rules. Yep. And I think an example of that was I think it was during the first short session of the 2020 session, the first special session that we had, and they had there was 10 or 12 police reform bills, and every one of them had a whereas clause on it that said Black Lives Matter, and it was capital B, capital L, capital M, and I said to them, I said, I'm sorry, if you're gonna put an advertisement for a Marxist terrorist organization on there, I'm not gonna support that bill. If you take that off of the bill, I'll look at what you have behind the bill there. And so that's the kind of interaction that I think we need to have when the other party is out of line.
See, this is how low the bar is. Like, this guy is considered based by me at this point. Like, oh wow, he rightfully condemned an open Marxist, leftist, anti-white terrorist organization. He didn't say anti-white, but he openly condemned an open Marxist terrorist organization. Good for him, based. Like, that should be the bare minimum for every single person running as a Republican right now. Like, that should be the bare minimum entry point as far as I'm concerned. Like, you can't support feminism of any flavor. You can't support Antifa of any sort. You can't whinge on about systematic racism. You can't be super stoked on abortion or gun control or open borders. Let's see. You can't, and you have to consider BLM a terrorist organization. Like, you know what I mean? Like, all of that should be just rightfully in place before we even consider you to be a rational human being, let alone worthy of institutional or political power or influence.
When the other party does things that are good and sensible, and they do all the time, like I said, I vote yes more than half the time in the legislature. I did.
Yeah.
But it's standing up to them when they don't. And I was disappointed that in the entire Republican delegation, that there's only 2 people who voted no on all of the Black Lives Matter bills, and that was really disappointing to me.
Wow.
Okay.
So yeah, like, show this to your average boomer grandpa who's playing partisan politics. Like, oh, no, these Democrats. Well, dude, this is the only base guy on this panel, pretty much, and he won't even, again, he won't say that BLM is anti-white. He won't even say that they're anti-American per se. He says that they're a Marxist terrorist organization. Yeah, right. I mean, absolutely, they are. But that's like bare frickin' minimum at this point, man. After a year straight of just riots in every major city, right? Burning down buildings, burning down monuments, killing people, maiming people, raping people, you know, carjacking, car flipping and burning, pulling people out of cars, yada, yada, yada. These people are like, yeah, let's compromise with people who want to put a BLM clause in every bill that exists. Yeah, let's compromise with these people because the business world, oh, Hewlett-Packard and oh yeah, the parties win. It's like, right, maybe you partisan motherfuckers win, but not us, so fuck you.
I think that compromise and getting things done, the word compromise is an interesting one because I don't feel that there's ever a need to have a compromise in the sense that most people think about it. This is what I said to the precinct committee people last two Fridays ago is I believe in keeping certain values. I'm a Christian. I believe in the Second Amendment. I'm pro-life. There are Bill of Rights type values that exist that you don't take to the bargaining table with you. You keep it there in a box. You don't bring it to the bargaining table. But bargains do happen. It's part of politics. You want a state representative who goes in there and works with all members and figures out an optimal solution.
No!
And improves the district. You want that. That's absolutely true. But the need to compromise, I think what matters more is that you're respected. And you can achieve respect without that. I think
you sound like someone who has plug wad up in his gums. Like you sound like you got Kodiak in your mouth. I don't respect that. You should respect and get things done with the people that want to tear down George Washington monuments. Yeah, and they want to tear down a moose statue because, well, it was probably put up there by a white man, right? They want to tear down a abolitionist statue because, again, white guy. Like, and their conservative response is like, oh, well, compromise, get stuff done, and, well, you know, these liberals are just naive. They don't know any better. It's like, well, they're being deployed by people who know better and who want to destroy the goddamn country for their own benefit, and these people don't give a shit because they're well insulated from it and collect a fat check at the end of the day.
As long as you're civil with your colleagues,
right?
You maintain a level of respect, you maintain friendships, I think you can overcome a lot of the ideological disagreements that take place.
With people who want to kill babies.
I've also observed in my time that
by the millions.
Legislators in the minority who
have those people over for dinner, yeah,
the most out of their experience are the ones that maintain dialogue even in the tough times, because there's a lot of tension-filled moments that happen. There's a roller coaster throughout session, and there's times where folks aren't willing to talk with each other. And I think the most successful ones are the ones willing to do that. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
What a pathetic, just mealy mouth response.
You can't get anything done.
What did he fucking say?
Without compromise, you can't get.
Okay, thank you. Jim?
Well, without compromise, you can't get anything done. If it comes to compromise on unborn life, I'm not there. I believe that's an absolute issue. And we probably have 3,000 bills, 1,000 come before the body, and maybe one deals with that. But regardless, I'm not going to compromise on that one if it comes before us. But there are so many other things. Shirley Gold served in the Senate with me, and she had a bill I didn't like, and it was fairly complicated. And I turned to her and I said, Shirley, I'm going to ask you these 5 questions. And when she got up, I asked the questions, and she said, and I want to thank the senator from McMinnville at that time. That was my address. For the
Okay. So are these idiots compromising? He's just babbling, but are these idiots compromising with Dems who think that rioters should be able to just? I mean, like, are they helping the business owners who might want to defend their lives and businesses and livelihoods against rioters? Or I would imagine they're not really helping. That they're not. I mean, they're compromising on that issue. Like, oh, unborn life, some platitude about the Second Amendment, unborn life, Christian values, but they don't say anything. These people are pathetic.
courtesy. It wasn't because we were going to agree on the bill, but it was because the process was a little easier because she knew what was coming her way. I served on the business committee with Jim Hill. Jim was chair of the committee. Toward the end of the session, I said the landscape contractors need a bill. They can't put their sprinkler systems in because of the restrictions on the backflow device. He said, Jim, you've worked with me all session. Of course I'll do this. And we were able, I'm sure he checked with the unions to make sure it was okay first, but we were able to move through a bill that did make a difference for landscape contractors in the district. It's about compromise and it's about courtesy.
Landscape contractors.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh my God, yeah. See more at youtube.com/laughing at liberals. Please do. This guy deserves way more fucking followers. But yeah, that's just one snapshot that dude has provided us of how mealy-mouthed, pathetic the Republican Party actually is. And I believe that blonde woman who's talking about business compromising with Dems or whatever the fuck, gobbledygook. Yeah, I think she got the seat. Yeah. The guy at the end of the table is an intellectual who actually pays attention to those who are actually trying to subvert the country. Good on him. Yep. Yeah, and of course he didn't fucking win. It's kind of a bummer. But anyway, subscribestar.com/DurstTheWorst if you have a video request. And make sure to give my Linktree link some love in the description because YouTube is asshole and keeps giving me strikes. But anyway, subscribe, biatch.